You tune into the Sportscast with Brian, Craig, and Jeff. Give you all the sports news you need. We give you outspoken thoughts about all the headlines. We talk baseball, football, hockey, and more. No matter the topic, we cover it. Get ready for the show and keep it outspoken. Keep it outspoken. We keep it outspoken only on the Sportscast. Tune into the Sportscast with Brian, Craig, and Jeff. Give you all the sports news you need.
Hello, everyone. Welcome in to Watson's Playbook. Watson's Playbook episode 26. I want to first of all sincerely apologize for not having an episode out last week. I could not work it in the schedule to get an episode out. I was frustrated that I wasn't able to, but it was for good reasons. Last week was a stressful week for me, but also a huge blessing for me at the same time. And I'm going to explain here. About 7 to 8 months ago, me and my wife decided it is time to buy our first house. And we didn't know anything about that process, right? We're first time buying. We know credit's got to be decent. We know, you got down payments and all sorts of things that we're over our head on. And we went into this place called MI Homes. We found a floor plan we like. We found an area we want to move. We said, hey, guys, we're looking at buying a house. What do we need to do? So they said, well, let's look at your credit. Credit wasn't good enough. They said, we got to fix your credit. This is what you need to do. You have to pay off these debts. You need to open up some credit cards. You have to build your credit up. And at the end of October, we should have you hopefully where you need to be. So I'm working my butt off. I'm trying to get, paying my payments on time, getting these credit cards opened, trying to get this credit up where it needs to be. It's moving slowly. It's moving up, but slowly. And they call me. I get a call in October, the end of October. He says, Alicia is the girl's name. She says, hey, Brian, I'm going to run your credit tomorrow. You've done a fantastic job of getting your credit up. It's gone up. Here are your scores. This should be good enough. So the next day, which is not last week, but the week before on a Thursday, said, all right, Brian, your credits are good. Your credit is good to go. As long as it's good for the lender, then you are good to go. And I said, great. She said, your lender should be reaching out to you Friday, the next day. So Friday comes, I hear nothing from my lender. His name is Justin. I hear nothing from Justin. What's going on? So 5:30 rolls around. I text him, hey, Justin, this is Brian. I talked to Alicia. She said, you're the guy I need to talk to next. You're the next step about getting a pre-approval letter. Justin says, text me on Monday. We will figure it out. Locked in your rate. It's like, great. Monday at 9 o'clock rolls around. I'm a pretty patient person, but my wife is just, hey, text Justin. You need to get on Justin. Get on Justin. So I text him at 9 and say, hey, look, I'm open all day. Call or text me, whatever. I don't hear from him. It's 4:30. I don't hear a word from him. Like, why did you call? Why did you tell me to call you? And during this process, you got to keep in mind that every day the house that you want to buy, we're buying a brand new house. It's a brand new build from the ground up. It can go up. It goes up quite often, and we see the price keep rising. The longer you wait to figure things out, the lot you want that we want is, could be taken from us. So Justin texts back on Monday and says, I needed this stuff from you. Cool. Send it to him. Tuesday comes around. I don't hear anything. I'm like, what is going on, man? What is going on? So Tuesday, he finally texts me later in the afternoon and says, I need your wife's, or he says, I need to run your wife's credit. Cool. So Wednesday gets here. I'm like, all right. Wednesday gets here, and I usually do a podcast. We usually do it on Tuesday nights. And I told my buddy Jeff, sorry, I'm waiting for an important phone call or something from this guy, figure out about the house. So Wednesday rolls around. I still can't do a podcast. I just got all this stuff going on with the house. Got to try and figure this out. Got to send him my W-2s and all this pay stubs and stuff like that. And he finally, my wife goes Tuesday night. She goes, "Don't I need to send him my information?" I'm like, "No, he's already got information. You're good to go." So Wednesday rolls around, and he texts me and says, "I need your wife's information." I'm like, "Dude, I could have had this to you yesterday. Like, why? Every day this house goes up, and you're killing me here." So Wednesday rolls around. He's like, "Well, I can't verify your overtime pay, and I got to talk to your HR." And so I'm like, great. So he's like, hopefully we'll hear back by Friday at least. I'm like, by Friday? It's Wednesday. You got 2 days to get the job done. We're stressing out a little bit. The price of the house keeps going up. So my realtor on Tuesday said, "Hey, we should have everything we need. Friday, we're going to go in and we're going to make an appointment. And we're going to talk to Emily," which Emily is the girl that sells the houses. "And we're going to get everything worked out." Well, Thursday night comes. I got to go to bed at 4 p.m. I got to get up at 11 p.m. to go to work at midnight. And regardless of whether we're making a meeting with Emily at 11 or regardless, because my wife is headed out of town when I get home. So at 4 o'clock Thursday, I text my realtor and I said, "Hey, well, we can't make that meeting tomorrow. I'm not hearing anything on Justin's end. Doesn't look like it's going to happen." I go to sleep. My wife wakes me up at 5 p.m. I'm drowsy. I can't barely see anything. And not, when you first wake up, especially I've been asleep for an hour, what's going on? She tells me we've been approved. We were approved for a loan. So I call back my realtor, tell her to keep that meeting on Friday. And so we could not put an episode out last week, but we went in on Friday. We talked to Emily. We got the numbers worked out. So we're getting a house built in Saginaw, Texas, where we wanted to move to. We got the house the way we want it. So we're super excited about that experience and about waiting to see our house being built. And it takes a 6-month process. But buying a house in general, it's stressful. And especially when you're buying and trying to get a lot and everything. So that's where we were last week. That's why we did not put an episode out. So I want to apologize, but I'm not going to apologize too bad because we're excited here at the Watson household to have a house of our own. So to finally own a house. All right, guys, we're going to jump into the weekly sports update. Number one, the Saints slaughter the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 38-3. At halftime, it was 31-0. Drew Brees set out in the second half a little bit and got some other quarterbacks, Jameis Winston in there, and they used Hills, the other quarterback, and Brady looked bad. He only had 200 yards passing and 3 interceptions. And this, to me, says that the NFC is wide open, right? You got Seattle, who lost to Buffalo this last week. You got Tampa Bay, who's been on a hot streak, but they just got blown out by the Saints. The Saints have been up and down this year. Green Bay beat the Saints, but Green Bay lost to Tampa Bay. And so this says to me that NFC is wide open for anybody to take it. So I'm interested to see who does step up and take it this second half of the season coming up. Number two, the Steelers almost wet the bed against the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys led most of the way, but a couple of untimely penalties cost Dallas the upset as Dallas loses 24-19. I've watched most of this game. Actually, I watched all of this game. My Packers played on Thursday night. This game was on. I watched it. The Steelers came out and they look lethargic. They play like crap, but they still were able to get the job done at the end of the day. They still remain to be the undefeated team in the league. The Cowboys got good play from the quarterback. They had what was it? Gilbert in there, as he started off as like their 4th-string quarterback this year. He actually played good. He looked competent back there in the backfield. It kind of reminded me of a young Tony Romo, right? Everyone thinks Cowboys and Romo. But in the end, a couple penalties at the end of the game cost them the victory. They're going to go back to Andy Dalton this coming week. Number 3, Tua battled Murray and the Arizona Cardinals. This is Tua's 2nd start, and he did a lot better this time around. This game was a back and forth shootout. They were going back and forth. Miami looks to be a pretty real threat. This defense looks really good. Tua's coming along, and he's going to keep them in games. He doesn't turn over the ball very much. He was 20 for 28 with 248 yards with 2 touchdowns as they beat the Cardinals 34-31. Number 4, a heartbreaking loss for the Las Vegas. Sorry, I can't think. The Los Angeles Chargers as they lose in heartbreaking fashion to the Raiders 31-26. They've been losing games like this where they'll get a lead and they'll lose it, or they come up and they come to try and win the game. They come up short. Something happens. And this is like any other game they played this year. Herbert was driving down the field and seemed to throw the game-winning touchdown as time expired, and which would have won in the game. But after further review, the play was called a touchdown. After further review, the player actually bobbled the ball and hit the ground, and they called it incomplete. That was the last play of the game, and they ended up losing 31-26. Number 5, the Patriots squeaked by the Jets 30-27 on the last-second field goal. The Jets were actually up 20-10 at halftime. It looks like Bill Belichick is at a loss without Tom Brady or without a competent quarterback. And look, Tom Brady was there, and they didn't have a lot of help around him. That was the whole story last season. So then when you lose Tom Brady, an actual competent quarterback, and you get Cam Newton, who's not very good, everyone wanted to jump on that train of, oh my gosh, Cam Newton's going to be really good this year. How far have the Patriots fallen? Pretty far. I don't know where they're going to end up in the draft, but I'm tired of seeing them winning, so I'm fine with them losing. Number 6, I actually watched this game too. The Chiefs struggled against the Panthers. Mahomes had a really good game. But the Panthers, they beat the Panthers 33-31. And my goodness, the Panthers, Teddy Bridgewater is an okay quarterback. I'm not a big fan of his, but he's just dinking and dunking, not throwing the ball down the field, dinking and dunking left and right. They had no time on the clock. No timeouts trying to drive the ball down with a minute and 40 seconds left. And the players don't know what they're doing. They're catching the ball on the sideline and they're running in the middle of the field. They're wasting clock. I'm like, you got to get out of bounds. You got to throw the ball on the sidelines and get out of bounds. They could have had a chance to win, but they didn't because they didn't know what the heck they were doing. So that's going to be your weekly sports update. Football last week, week 9. Looking forward to week 10 coming up. Go ahead and introduce my buddy Jeff on the line. Jeff, how are you doing today, Jeff?
I'm doing pretty good.
Doing pretty good. How was your week?
It's been all right. It's went and got brakes done, or not brakes. I went and got the oil change done on my car. They thought I wanted them to check the brakes, and so they did, and those are good. And I think they rotated the tires free if you get an oil change. So I did that, and other than that, it's just been regular week. I think we're going to go to my mom's for Thanksgiving next week. So, but just kind of, it's been colder here. We've had a dust of snow a little bit yesterday. So other than that, just kind of doing some extra work for this film company. And I think I watched a couple of the last 2 Bronco games. I watched towards the end of the last one, and then we kind of snuck out a win there. And then this last one, again, we fell behind and came back, but no dice on that one. So we didn't ended up. I think there was a critical interception there at the end that blocked through, and even he was kind of like, that was a horrible decision on my part. So, but it's this team's a work in progress. I mean, they're figuring it out. I am seeing him and Locke and Jerry Jeudy connecting more often, so that's a good sign.
Yeah, I've seen some of his stats, and I'm like, oh, he's starting to come out and play really well and get that connection with.
He did
Locke.
Yeah, he did a move that was kind of took everybody by storm, like the NFL world by storm. He completely fooled the cornerback for the for who were they?
Atlanta.
Who they played? They were. Yeah, it was Atlanta, and he completely fooled him. And it was pretty hilarious. He ran and then stopped, but as he stopped, he pushed his hand out, and the guy completely he overran past. It was like you completely fooled him and then caught it and got you did a couple of yards after the catch, but it was pretty hilarious. I was like, man, that's the kind of stuff I want to see from him. So yeah, that was pretty cool.
He's shifty and can make people miss. The Packers play the 49ers on Thursday night, and I had to go to bed at 4 to get up, to go the next day and do all that stuff. But I said I'll watch it on Friday. Well, I forgot to record the freaking game, so I didn't even get to watch it. But we were playing a backup squad. The 49ers been hurt on COVID and injured. We had our whole running back. All three of our running backs were out on COVID, and so. But it was an easy win, and but I didn't get to watch the game. So,
it was a pretty easy win. Yeah, y'all pretty much took care of business there.
yeah. They didn't have their starting quarterback or their tight end, and so I was like, well, we should win this game, and we handled business, and we did our job. We play the Jacksonville Jaguars this week, so that should be another win. So. Looking forward to that. We could stack those wins. But I saw something, and let's jump into the sidelines episode, part of this. And I just thought of something I didn't even write down on the board. The NFL is proposing, Jeff, eight teams make the playoffs, and they're proposing that because if COVID cancels some games and they can't make them up, you're going to have an 8-team playoff in both divisions, or NFC and AFC, but that's going to take away the bye. So the first pick would not have a bye, which is, in my opinion, I think that's ridiculous because you fight for that first seed to get the bye, to get the home field advantage. It's going to be like a basketball where the first would play the 8, second would play the 7, and so forth and so forth. So I don't know what your thoughts are on it. I don't like it one bit. I think it takes away that advantage of fighting hard all season to get that first spot, to have the bye, to have the home field advantage, and it takes that away. And I just don't like that.
It depends. I mean, always having this thing with, and I don't know if you have the same kind of mentality or not, but like with baseball, right? When your team clinches early, you're kind of like, like, do I really want them to clinch so early so that they're sitting for a long time, or they're not going to play as often? And then it's this possibility of like, okay, are they ready, or whatever? Because even in baseball, like they have I think typically they have a first round. I think they have a first round bye. Do they have a first round bye in baseball? Dang it!
I'm not sure. I know we talked about it this last playoff series.
They do because of that one playoff game. So technically, they would still be. Yeah, technically they would still be off. So, I mean, that's my only thing is like it's kind of like, yeah, it's not. I guess it takes that possibility of a team resting away. But then again, if your team's on fire, I think maybe the last thing you really want is for them to be too rested,
Yeah, so. I go back to fourth on that. My Green Bay has a horrible record coming out of the bye, and even this year we came off the bye and we got dominated by Tampa Bay. So I get what you're saying. I just think in the NFL and when such a physical sport, I think you could take all the rest you need heading into the playoffs, get healthy. But I thought that was interesting. We may not see it at all, but so we'll see what happens and if that does go down, if they have to cancel some games. You threw out some baseball information there, or we talked a little bit about baseball. Let's the baseball here, Jeff, because I know you and me and most of Major League Baseball fans, unless you're an Astros fans, hate the Houston Astros for cheating their way to the championship in 2017. So
they're my favorite. They're my new favorite team.
They're your favorite team. They're going to be the New England Patriots, right? That they cheat their way to championships. Anyway, so Alex Cora, news came today that Alex Cora is back in Boston as a manager. AJ Hinch got hired on as a Detroit manager. They got a slap on the wrist, and it was supposed to be a year suspension. Well, the year suspension was basically like if they opted out to because of COVID. Basically, it was a 60-game season. This game was short, and we all know what went down there. I think it's ridiculous. I think it was a slap on the wrist. I guarantee Boston said, okay, we'll fire Alex Cora. And they said, hey, Alex Cora, we're going to hire you back. So don't you worry, buddy. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. Jeff Luhnow, the GM for the Astros at the time, is actually going to sue Major League Baseball. And I like that, Jeff. I like it for one, I think it's smart. Jeff Luhnow has kind of figured out he's not going to be hired back on by anybody. And now that he's suing Major League Baseball, he's pretty much untouchable. I don't think anybody's going to give him a chance. So suing Major League Baseball, if it goes to court, it does this. One, if it goes to court and doesn't get thrown out, Major League Baseball would have to release records of the case to the public, which means we would be able to see the text messages between players, between the Astros owners, between baseball, between Rob Manfred. We'd have to see all that stuff. And we could see if they really hit it all up, which we believe they did. And if it does go to court, which I don't know if it will. I don't know what the odds are of this thing going to court. But if it does go to court and Major League Baseball says, we don't want any of this information getting out, let's go ahead and pay Jeff Luhnow. Jeff Luhnow is going to get paid a boatload of money because he knows what happened. He has all the insights. He could bring this whole thing to the ground, but that everything happened. So either he gets a big paycheck, or I guess it gets dismissed and thrown on the rug again. But I don't know what do you think about him trying to sue Major League Baseball?
If he has leverage, then I see a possibility there. It just depends on what his motives are. If he's just wanting to get paid and he has real evidence behind Major League Baseball trying to suppress some of the stuff that's going on there to save face, they don't want any more negativity on MLB. There's been too much over the last 20 years, or even more. In the history's littered with, bad press, bad PR, bad whatever. So, I mean, will anything come of this? Will we get the behind the scenes of what happened in Houston and this season they cheated everybody, and especially my team? I don't think so. I mean, the thing is that even if MLB's like, well, we're going to go to court, like, they know what's going to happen. They know that a lot of stuff's going to come out. So if he's looking for any money, they'll probably just pay him, especially if the evidence is damning towards Major League Baseball. They're not going to want that out there. So they're just going to do what they need to do.
Yeah, and he's going to get a paycheck because they're not going to, like you said, I don't think anything's going to come of it. We know they cheated. They said they cheated with the trash cans. My thing is that they were talking about this morning on the radio that there was a backdoor deal that happened, that Rob Manfred was going to take away the championship from Houston. They were he's going to take it and void that year. But he struck a deal with the manager or with the owner of Houston and said, if I fire these 3 people, can we keep it? And they I guess, agreed upon it. I don't know how true that is. But it seems like it seems like it would be true. I don't know. I don't believe anything. I tend to believe all the stories that do come out over this cheating scandal, but
Major League Baseball is going to tell, they're going to try to do whatever they can to not make them look bad. And if that's paying this dude off, then that's what they're going to do. If that's sweeping this back under the rug again, as they did with this entire situation, that's what they're going to do. And people need to understand that. As going back to the Alex Cora thing, it won't matter to me. They can bring Alex Cora back with Boston. Boston's still in shambles. They still have horrible pitching. They traded off tons of pieces to other teams, one of which just won a championship with the Dodgers. They paid too much money for one of the players they have. That team is a shadow of themselves 3 years ago. Because Alex Cora is in the mix and he's going to be coaching again, isn't going to make them any better. So,
right.
They can bring him in there. Again. Yeah, they can bring him in there, but will it change anything? Will it change the standings? Will the Red Sox all of a sudden be this team again, now neck and neck with the Yankees? And no,
probably not. Something that broke right before we started the episode is Kevin Cash named Manager of the Year from the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, and round of applause for that guy. He's the guy that got to the championship with a team that had the lowest payroll in the league. So that team, that manager, that organization knows what they're doing. When you can take guys that no one else valued and pay them little money and still get the best out of them, a good job for Kevin Cash. Let's jump into the NBA real quick. And the NBA is starting, Jeff, December 22nd, right? It feels like we just ended, which we did. They're going to start December 22nd. Free agency, everything has to happen in between that. Free agency is going to happen November 20th this month. So they're putting a rush on it, and they're putting a rush on it because they know they have to get as many games as possible because they're losing money. So they're jumping into this. The draft will be sometime between now and then as well. We heard rumors about LeBron James not even going to show up for the first 2 months of the season because he's, that puts bad for the Lakers, right? LeBron James is old. He needs to rest after what he just won. So it brings a lot of questions into the Major League or the NBA this year, but they want to start. This is going to be the starting date from here on out, is around Christmas time.
Makes sense. Makes sense for that to start. They want to start an entire year, they have to do that. They have to start that day because if they don't, they run that risk of, oh no, this player now has this, and then each need to. It's like a restart. Same thing with baseball. It's going to happen the same way. They're going to start back to where they would have started before. Now, football didn't have to deal with that. Unfortunately, baseball and MLB did. So their off seasons will be short. Now, baseball ended at the time they were supposed to, but basketball did not.
Right,
and kind of lingered on.
Another reason they're doing this is a long time ago. Mark Cuban talks about it quite a bit. Is a long time ago basketball started when it did because they didn't want to. They thought the thought was families go on vacation in the summertime and no one will be home watching TV, and they didn't want their season to end. But this makes better sense for the NBA because they won't be fighting football as much with starting in December. They're going to finish in the summertime for a championship. So this actually works out better for them. Maybe they'll get more ratings in, and they're not fighting with the football and college football and all that stuff going on. So it works out for their favor.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be bad for injuries. just prepare themselves
Yes.
for tons of basketball injuries, because that's exactly what's going to happen.
They've got to get, I think, through this 1 year, and then it will go back to normal, have a regular off season and do that. But all right, man, we're going to jump into the spotlight of the week, and we're about halfway through. We're a little bit over halfway through the midway part of the NFL season, and we're going to throw out our halfway awards, or half year, whatever you want to call it, awards. And we're going to start off with Coach of the Year. Jeff, I want you to give me your Coach of the Year first, and then I'll give you mine. Kind of explain, obviously, why you chose that coach.
I will go with Jason Garrett. No, I'm kidding.
Offensive coordinator. Can't win. What the heck?
No, I'm gonna go with Matt LaFleur. Just because
I like it.
Because I just think that, he didn't. I don't know if he got a lot of recognition last year. He did a lot of things that not many coaches do in their first year, like 13-3 record. His first season as a head coach, first, I think, Packer rookie head coach to get 10 wins, make the playoffs, and win it, the NFC North. That's insane. So it's a lot of this stuff. I mean, even his win against the Bears, the first win he did as a first-time head coach, first since Lombardi. Huge deal. Now you go into the season, go, okay, maybe that was a fluke. So far, pretty good. 6-2. I think he's going to be a good coach. I think he's going to be a good coach for this team. I think this team believes in him. I think even though we have this whole thing of he got a rookie and blah, 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 I think Aaron Rodgers likes him. I think that the pieces that he puts around him in terms of his, offensive coordinator and all that kind of stuff, I think it all works. And because of that, you can't really deny, even though he's a young coach, seems like it's not just a first year fluke. So I'm giving it to him.
I totally agree with all the things you said there. It's time for people to put some respect on his name. I don't have him as my Coach of the Year, but I agree with you, Jeff. He doesn't get the respect he deserves. He came in first year 13-3. We went to the NFC Championship, one game away from the Super Bowl. He's done a fantastic job this year. He's opened up this offense. I could go on and on about Matt LaFleur, but I'm going to give you my guy, Jeff. And I was torn between two people here. I was torn between Brian Flores, the Miami Dolphins, and the way he's been able to turn his team around and really make them competitive. But I got to go with Mike Tomlin, the coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And not only are they the only undefeated team in the league still, so that he's got that going towards him and for him. But you look back to last year, and what coach can you say that loses their starting quarterback in Big Ben Roethlisberger and still go 9-7 and was one game away from making the playoffs? This is a coach. He's very smart. He has his team play for him. People rally around him. Mike Tomlin is one of the best coaches in the league. The Steelers, Jeff, and this is insane, they've only had 3 coaches their entire existence, Jeff. Their entire existence, they've only had 3 coaches. They really buy into a guy. They believe in the guy, the pieces around him to make him good or to make the team good. I really like Mike Tomlin. He actually became the most winningest African-American coach in the NFL this last week, beating the Dallas Cowboys. So my Coach of the Year so far, halfway through, goes to Mike Tomlin.
I would have to say that's a really good. When you said it, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about him, because there was a lot there that could have just blown up very easily. I mean, people talking about Big Ben's done. Typically, when you see that, it's rebuild time. Especially a quarterback like him. He's been the face of that team for a long time, as long as I can remember.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that could have easily gone really bad for Pittsburgh, but it hasn't. So
and one
their
thing,
defense got better when he got injured, which is the exact thing you want. So
yeah, their defense is really good, and they're really good this year. And one thing I totally, and I think a lot of people miss this whole point, and I thought about it earlier today when I was making my pick. This team, Jeff, 2 years ago, you got to think of the talent they had. They had Le'Veon Bell in his prime. They had Antonio Brown in his prime. They had Big Ben Roethlisberger in his prime, and heck, on Madden, I started playing with the Steelers a little bit. You had those three on a team. He lost all that except Big Ben. Now Big Ben did get hurt, so he lost Antonio Brown. He lost Le'Veon Bell in their prime, and they continued to consistently win. I think it's a fantastic job by Mike Tomlin keeping this team motivated and ready to play. And I think that's a big thing, is losing two stars like that, and then losing your quarterback last year due to injury. He got injured the first game and was out the whole year. So kudos to Mike Tomlin. Let's jump on down to MVP of the halfway mark, Jeff. You want to go first, or you want me to go first?
You can go first.
I have, and it was tough. I fought between two players, but I chose Russell Wilson. And Russell Wilson's had a fantastic year this year. He is, I think he leads the league in touchdown passes, if I'm not mistaken. The way he battles, the way he fights, what he does with what little he has, and he has no defense. So he is literally forced to go down and score every drive they have because their defense allows up a lot of points. This last week he struggled. He did turn over the ball 4 times. He had two interceptions and 2 fumbles against the Bills defense, which the Bills defense is a good defense. So people were ready to take Russell out of the MVP just because of that one game. But I'm going to give him that mulligan. He's not going to be perfect every single game. I got Russell Wilson being the MVP of the season and leading the Seahawks to the division win. I think they're going to win that division, which is one of the toughest divisions in the league. I got him as the MVP of the year, or of the halfway mark. Jeff, what do you got? Jeff, are you there, Jeff?
Hello?
Are you there? You're gonna have to edit some of that little bit of quietness out there. I threw it back to you, but
okay.
But
can you hear me?
There. Yeah, I can hear you. You're good. Okay. So yeah, I chose Russell Wilson, but now you tell me who you got.
I'm gonna have to pick Aaron Rodgers, and not because here we go. I'm going all Packers on this.
Hey, I'll take it. That's the other guy I fought between Russell and between Rodgers.
It's not because Aaron Rodgers he's one stuff. I think it's because how he had to fight back. I mean, the guy has had multiple injuries. His team drafted a young up-and-coming quarterback, which was, everyone was like, oh, man, here we go. And he could have easily just been like, you know what? I've gotten paid all this money. I'm checking out, and bail on the team, not trying, not caring, whatever. But that's not what we've seen. We've seen him fight for his position, fight for his spot, even though he doesn't have to, he doesn't have to, but he's playing on a different level. And the fact that you've seen a complete 180 in his play with, he doesn't have all the greatest targets in the world, or the best offensive line in the world. But he does have that drive that maybe he lost it at one point and now it's back. So the fact that he's had to bounce back and his response to the draft, his response to people doubting him as a player for the last few years, and I think that he's answering all that. So, I mean, if you're going to say right now, in terms of a value player, you want to say, okay, he's showing me heart, he's showing me fight, he's showing me play on the field. I mean, he's it's an all around player when you're talking about that. So it's not just, oh no, he's great at his QBR is amazing. Like there's more to it than that.
Right. He is. I almost picked Aaron Rodgers. I didn't want to seem a little biased. I picked Russell Wilson because he has I think 2 more touchdown passes than Aaron Rodgers. But Aaron Rodgers has only thrown 2 interceptions this year. He's found that fountain of youth. It looks like Matt LaFleur. And one thing that's interesting that you go with Matt LaFleur is I read an article a little bit ago about Mike McCarthy didn't hold anybody accountable in Green Bay, and things become lackluster, and that's just not how you run a football team. Matt LaFleur came in day one. They said people were impressed because he challenged Aaron Rodgers. He challenged him day one. He wasn't afraid of Aaron Rodgers. He wasn't afraid to say, hey, look, you're doing this wrong. You got to do this. You got to do that. I think that really pushed Aaron Rodgers to find the love of the game again. He's found something that he's missed the last couple of seasons, and I can definitely see why he would be the MVP at the halfway point. I almost went with him. I fought between it, but I chose Russell Wilson there. Rookie of the year, Jeff, and it came between 2 people for me. It came between Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow, and I'm a big Joe Burrow fan, Jeff. I watched him out of LSU last year. He played really well. He played fantastic. They beat top 10 team after top 10 team after top 10 team. They went on to beat Alabama in the championship, got a national championship. He was the first-round draft pick, Joe Burrow. He was the first pick in the drafts. He went to the Bengals, Jeff. Through 8 games, he has a quarterback rating of 91.4. His completion percentage is 67%. He's thrown 11 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He's thrown over 2,272 yards. And I said, that's my guy. That's the guy I'm going with. I love Joe Burrow. But then, Jeff, you got to look up Justin Herbert's numbers. And in 7 games, he's played 1 less game than Joe Burrow. He has a 104.7 quarterback rating. He has a 67.3% completion percentage. He has 17 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and he's thrown for 2,146 yards. I think you have to give it to Justin Herbert there. He's playing fantastic. This is a guy that came out of college, and they said he's not going to be able to start NFL year 1 while he's starting. He didn't start the season, but they put him in because of their quarterback mishap, and he's been playing lights out. They haven't been winning games. They've been, like I said, when we talked about the weekly sports update, they're finding ways to lose ball games, but it's not because of Justin Herbert. He looks really good. He's playing really well. I like Joe Burrow. I like them both a lot. I think Herbert went to the better situation than Joe Burrow has to play with there. But I think so far, halfway through, Herbert looks to be winning that race.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I can't argue there, man. I mean, I've seen him play against the Broncos. I cannot argue there. His numbers are ridiculous in terms of like what you're talking about, offensive rookie of the year. I can't just sit there and argue that whatsoever.
Right, and I stick up for Joe Burrow too. I think he's done really good. And people were like, "Well, I'm going to take a Herbert over Burrow for sure." And I'm like, "Well, Joe Burrow did go to the Bengals. All right, this is an organization that doesn't win. They don't know how to win. Joe Burrow is actually the only reason they've won games this year. He's battling and playing really hard. And I like both of them. I think they could be the future quarterbacks that we see come up and take over when Tom Brady and Drew Brees and stuff like that leave. Miami Dolphins, they have Tua Tagovailoa, who started the last two games. He looks very promising. He's a guy that comes in. He's not going to turn the ball over. He makes smart decisions with the football. So we got this next, I think this next class of quarterbacks. You think next year Trevor Lawrence comes out in the draft. He'll probably go to the Jets. Hopefully the Jets don't waste him away. I hate to see good quarterbacks go to such crappy teams. But we're going to have Herbert, Burrow, Tua, and then you got the Clemson quarterback coming out next year. So I
probably going to the Jets.
Yeah, he'll be going to the Jets, unfortunately, unless he pulls a John Elway or Eli Manning and refuses to be drafted to that team, which some people are hoping he does. But I'm glad we're going to have a next group of quarterbacks that look like they're going to be really good. I just think what Herbert's doing, he played in Oregon, and Oregon doesn't play a whole lot of amazing college football teams. They don't come over here and they don't play Alabama. Like Joe Burrow plays Alabama. Those are NFL ready defenses. So they had a couple questions about Herbert. They said he wasn't going to be able to start year one, and he's come out and played really fantastic. And I think he's got a decent team around him there. And I think so far, halfway through the season, Herbert's your rookie of the year. Let's go to the defensive rookie of the year, our halfway mark here. Go ahead, Jeff. I'll let you lead that one off.
Defensive rookie of the year. I am going. Where is my guy? Okay. I mean, in terms of stat wise and everything, I keep looking at Chase Young. I don't know why. I know a lot of people. I mean, what do you think?
Well, Chase Young's a really good player. He was the number 1 draft pick. He was the number 2 draft pick this year for the Washington football team. And he's a great player. He's going to be really good. He's going to be really dominant. He's been battling some injuries this year so far, but he's come off. I think he has 3.5 sacks, as I looked up earlier, 20 tackles, 1 forced fumble, and he's tackled 5 for loss. He is your odds-on favorite to win that award at the end of the season if he continues to do what he's doing. He's
I think he gets overlooked because of who he's on, what team he's playing for.
That is true.
You know, if he was on a flashier team, I think people would be noticing him a lot more.
That is true. And also the Washington Redskins defensive line is the best position in football they have. They have a stacked defensive line. They're going to get to the quarterback. They're going to be able to slow down your run. They're going to force a lot of sacks and a lot of pressures. So he kind of melds in really well with them. He's going to be a beast. But you're right. You're not going to hear too much from him because he plays for such a bad team. I had it between him and Patrick Queen, and I got to give it to Patrick Queen. He's a linebacker drafted this year out of Clemson. He got drafted by Baltimore, Jeff. Excuse me. And what kills me, Jeff, is Green Bay had a chance to draft him. He was right there. We moved up in the draft, and we took Jordan Love. And we could have had Patrick Queen. We need help with the inside linebacker. But the reason I went for him, he does have 2 sacks, but he has 52 tackles so far throughout this season. He has 4 loss, and he's forced 2 forced fumbles. So I like Patrick Queen a lot. I'm going to go with him to win it. But Chase Young is a really good player as well. And either one of them I could see pulling it out in the end of the year. Defensive player of the year, halfway mark. I've got to give it to Aaron Darnold or Myles Garrett. They both have 9 sacks each. They're both very dominant. I'm going to give the nod to Garrett for the Browns because the Browns are playing better this year with his presence out there on the field. Last year he lost his temper. He got suspended for the rest of the season as he hit the Steelers quarterback with his helmet. He's kept a cool head this year so far. I'm going to give it to him. I really like his play. He gets to the quarterback. And if you don't game plan for Myles Garrett, you're not going to win a lot of football games against the Browns.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's a good player. He's a definite – that's a great observation of him. I went with Aaron Darnold.
He's a beast of a man, Jeff.
He's just ridiculous. He's just ridiculous, man. Especially it's like, he was a 13th pick. That's insane. So why do I do this? Okay, why am I doing this? Okay, so during the regular season, just to this point, which we're at 8 games in now, right?
9 games in.
9 games in, so we're halfway there, and he's got 9 sacks already. 9. Gosh.
Okay, we watched him dominate the Dallas Cowboys. And after that game, I was like, man, just give him the award. This guy is throwing around 300-pound men like rag dolls.
Nine sacks already. I think it's he has 26 combined tackles. He's ridiculously good. He's consistent. I mean, it's hard to deny it, but if he's on this pace, think about that. On this pace, this guy is on pace to have almost 20 sacks if he continues this route. That's crazy. That's insane. So that's you can't argue with that. So it's going to be a toss-up, man. It's going to be a battle between these defensive guys. That are just kind of like they're both just really good. So, I mean, it's going to be fun to see what he ends up with at the end of the year, and if it continues at this pace.
Agreed. And that's if you could continue that pace to have 18 sacks in the year, that would be insane. So, all right, that's going to be the spotlight of the week. It was our halfway awards for the NFL season. So I guess, we can kind of keep track of this and kind of look at the end of the year and see if we were right on any of these. So, and who knows? It could be a guy that we didn't even name on here that steps up the second half and plays really good. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to pick the top 5 games of Week 10. And Jeff, the top 5 games this week are, number 1, I got the Bills versus the Cardinals. The Cardinals just came off a loss against Tua Tagovailoa, the Miami Dolphins. They played really well. The Bills just beat Seattle this last week. I didn't even put that in a weekly sports update. I should have. The Bills beat Seattle. They forced 4 turnovers from Russell Wilson. They beat him by 11 points. It was a pretty dominant win for the Buffalo Bills. I got the Bills taking this one against the Cardinals.
I can't deny that. I think the Bills defense is legit. I think that if they can stop Russell Wilson, I mean, I don't know what the Cardinals are going to do to combat something like that. It would take probably a Mahomes or something, or even maybe even an Aaron Rodgers or something to combat some kind of defense like that. If they could take down Russell Wilson and stifle him. Was that there in Seattle? Or were they in Buffalo?
That was in Buffalo.
Okay. He plays better at home. But yeah, besides the point, beating Russell Wilson is not easy. So if you can do it handily like that, the defense is legitimate. So I'll go with the Bills, same.
Number 2, I got the Chargers versus Miami. You got Tua, a rookie, versus Herbert, the rookie. You got the tough defense of Miami versus, I don't know if the defense of the Chargers is very good. But I first thought the Chargers, I marked it out and I picked Miami. And I picked Miami because I think the defense is going to be able to get pressure. They have a really good defense in Miami. They're going to be able to pressure Herbert. I think they're going to get to him quite a bit. And Tua Tagovailoa does not turn over the football. I think he protects the ball really well, makes smart decisions with the football. And I'm going to put Tua down with his 3rd victory in a row.
Oh, man.
It's a tough one. This one was a tough one. I wrote Chargers and I marked it down and said, no, I'm going with Miami. The way that the Chargers have been losing so far this year, so
they can't manage to keep themselves ahead. They keep losing.
Yeah, they can't hold a lead. They can't hold a lead.
And honestly, their kicker's horrible. Man, I'm gonna go with the Chargers on this one. I'm gonna go with the Chargers on this one. I think
could be Justin Herbert, man.
Out of both of them battling it out, you talking about both of them kind of gunslinging it. I'll go with Herbert.
I think this is a 50-50 game. I honestly do. I just really like what I see from Miami lately. They're 5-3, and I don't know when the last time Miami Dolphins have been 5-3, but they're looking pretty good so far. Number 3, I got Seattle versus the Rams. This is a division game. battling for that division. Now, Seattle has a tight grip on that division right now. I think they're going to come out and win. They got to protect. They got to protect from Aaron Donald from getting to Russell Wilson as much. But I think coming off a loss like they have, I think Seattle's going to go in. Russell Wilson's very tough to beat. I just think they're going to win. I don't have much faith in Jared Goff and the Rams offense. So I'm going with Seattle to win that one. Another tough one.
In a close game, I go with Seattle, just because I trust Russell Wilson in a close game. I think this might be one of those. I think this might be a close game.
It should be. Well, it'll be close. It probably should be a little high scoring because Seattle doesn't have a defense. Jared Goff is an okay quarterback, but they have weapons, and the defense of Aaron Donald on the other side. So it should be a pretty good chess match there between the two.
Yeah. I in general, either if it's high scoring or if it's low scoring, I think if you give it to Russell Wilson, I trust Russell Wilson every time towards the end of a game. It's hard to not. So
there's something about him you've got to go with.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Seattle.
Number 4, I've got the Bengals versus the Steelers. Another rival game, division game. The Steelers coming off a lackluster performance to the Dallas Cowboys. Joe Burrow gunslinging the ball around, keeping the Bengals in the games and winning games for them. I think the Steelers defense is going to be too tough to they're going to be able to get to Joe Burrow because that offensive line is not very good out there in Cincinnati. I got the Steelers winning this football game and staying undefeated.
I can't argue. I mean, I don't think that Joe Burrow, he's kind of being thrown into the lion's den. I mean, the Steelers defense is ridiculously good. I mean, I felt bad for the Cowboys and the rookie quarterbacks going out against the Steelers team like that. I mean, Joe Burrow is great, but this is, I think, going to be a learning moment for him, and the Steelers are going to kind of hold him down. So I'm going with Steelers.
Yeah, and the Steelers actually had like 5 guys on the COVID list this week coming up off playing Dallas. Ben Roethlisberger was on that list. He is projected to play this week because he didn't come down with COVID. He was just in one of those close contacts. So without Ben Roethlisberger, I think they might lose, but they're going to have him there. I want the Bengals to win. I want Joe Burrow to win, but I don't see them winning this one. Number 5, I have the Bears versus the Vikings, and this is a game that is a divisional game. It is a game that I wish they both could lose because I could care less about either one of them winning. The Vikings, they beat the Green Bay Packers last week or the week before. They dominated with the run game, and everyone. I told my buddy too. I said, "Look, this is a trap game. The Vikings are better than their record. They play us really well. It's a trap game. We end up losing. People are laughing at us. Vikings are better than their record shows. They rely on running the ball a lot. Dalvin Cook has been a beast. He rushed for over 165 yards and 4 touchdowns on us. He had 202 yards last week. And this week, but the Bears defense is their strong point. They're going to be able to slow down Dalvin Cook, force Kirk Cousins to beat him. And when you force Kirk Cousins to throw the ball a lot, you're not going to win very many games. I got the Bears winning this game, Jeff.
I have this game ending up in a tie. No, I'm kidding. You're like, oh man,
3-3.
You have the Bears?
I do have the Bears. I don't want them to win, but I do have them winning. They've had some offensive woes lately, but their defense is their strong point. And like I said, if you can slow down Dalvin Cook and make Kirk Cousins beat you, you got a better chance of winning that way. Kirk Cousins does have weapons. He still has Adam Thielen. He has Rudolph, their tight end, and he has a rookie, Justin Jefferson, who came out of LSU, who I wanted Green Bay to move up to and get. They didn't do that. He's actually leading the. I believe he's leading the rookie wide receivers in almost all the stats so far this year. He's playing really, really well for them. But I think Dalvin Cook is their workhorse. They pass off the run. And if that run game slowed down, because the Bears are a really good defense, that's what the Bears got going for them. They came off a win. They beat Tennessee. They lost to Tennessee last week, thank goodness, but they kept it close. It's because that defense is something not to be messed with. And if they can slow Dalvin Cook down, force Kirk Cousins to throw the ball, I think the Bears win.
I think so too. I think I know the Vikings are better than their record shows, but something's off with this team, and I don't know what. I just don't know what it is. Something's off with the team, or you keep hearing stories of stuff, and I don't know. I think something like when you have like internal issues with a team, it's going to affect on-field stuff also. And I just don't. Yeah, I think the Bears. I think their defense is good, and I think as long as they can shut down the run game for them and kind of force a one-dimensional type team, or force an offense to be one-dimensional, then you can dictate the game at that point.
Right, and there are some issues going on with Minnesota the way they started off. I don't know if it's the coach. I don't know what it is. I don't think they have a lot of belief in their quarterback. I think that's a big issue, a big elephant in the room. There was rumors that they're going to work out quarterbacks in the draft this year. I don't know when Kirk Cousins' contract up. I think it may be at the end of this season, maybe at the end of next year. I don't think they bring Kirk Cousins back. Here's what I wanted. I wanted the Vikings to lose a lot of games, which they have, but I wanted them to lose out. I wanted them to fire their head coach, and I wanted him to be our defensive coordinator. I think Green Bay's defensive coordinator needs to go at the end of the year. I want him to be our defensive coordinator because he's a defensive guru, and he's a guy that can change your team around on defense. But I just found out like a couple weeks ago they actually gave him a 4-year contract extension. So I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. But there's something going on in Minnesota.
So you're saying you want the Vikings to get Trevor Lawrence?
No, Jeff. You know, I already thank my lucky stars that the Bears were ignorant and they didn't draft. The Bears didn't draft Patrick Mahomes, and they didn't even interview Deshaun Watson, Jeff. Either one of those quarterbacks could be in my division. The Bears were dumb enough to draft Mitchell Trubisky. He's been a big flat-out bust for him. Nick Foles ain't working out for him. They've got a big problem. I don't know how much longer Matt Nagy lasts there. But I'm loving it. I'm loving that they were dumb. They I could see them not drafting Patrick Mahomes because he was not that good in college. He was not the Patrick Mahomes in college. And that's kind of interesting if you think about it. Like Patrick Mahomes, all right, was coached by Cliff Kingsbury in Texas Tech. Patrick Mahomes goes to Kansas City, and he's one of the best, if not the best, quarterback in the league right now. Cliff Kingsbury, who barely had a winning record in college, goes to the Arizona Cardinals, and he's turned that team around. So it's funny to think about those two guys coming in after not being okay people in college, coming into the NFL and playing very well. But the Bears. Going back to that, yeah, they missed on Patrick Mahomes. They moved up in the draft, Jeff, and they drafted Mitchell Trubisky. They didn't even interview Deshaun Watson. Didn't even come close to thinking about drafting him. That's stupidity. Deshaun Watson just won the national championship with Clemson, and they didn't even interview him. I'm like, you guys are dumb. Continue running your organization that way because I love it. I love it. All right, man. I ain't got much else, man. Me and the wife are just waiting for this house to be built. We got a lot of packing, a lot of different things to throw away that we're not going to take with us, and that's what we got to look forward to.
Do what?
I said, I don't know about you. I'm glad that this election's over with. Even though, well, never mind. I'm going to say that for off the podcast. But I'm glad that the election's over with.
I think everybody can just finally just kind of chill. Like let's get the year over with, and it's been a crazy year. And
Right.
I mean, I'm looking forward to. My wife just texted me. She's like, "I didn't know that Assassin's Creed Valhalla was out yet." I was like, "Don't get it yet. Wait a few more days."
Yeah, 2 more days. 2 more days.
So, because she was like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, a better version." So, yeah, I just got a phone call a couple days ago, and they were like, "Hey, by the way, just to letting you know, PS4 will be ready on Thursday." I was like, "I already know that." So yeah, they called me, and basically we're gonna put some of our saves in the cloud and everything. I'll probably do that tomorrow, and then I got to go get a button on her system fixed tomorrow, which is to be like $5 or so to get that put on there at a place nearby. And then Thursday, I called them today, and I was like, "Are y'all doing midnight releases on Wednesday night?" And they were like, "No." I was like, "Okay." I didn't think so, but
yeah, no, that
I
would be
was
awesome.
like, but I think because of the COVID hours, they close early. So
Yeah.
So I was just like, okay, whatever.
Could
So
you
they're
imagine
like,
if they didn't open up till noon on Thursday? How
Oh,
pissed would you be?
Well, see, because I
man.
get off work at 10:30. They open at 10, so I have to. When I get off work, I'm basically I'm bringing both systems with me right before I leave, and then I'm going to one GameStop, trading my system in towards the PS5, and then I'm going across town to another one and trading the other one in and grabbing the other one.
I
So
got
it's
some,
like,
that's some advice for you. After you pick up the first one, you need to make sure you lock that bad boy in the trunk, because if you have that sitting outside in your seat or whatever, someone sees that in there.
No, my windows are tinted, so
I was like, so you're gonna come out with a busted windshield, and you don't want that to happen. Definitely.
Well, the good thing is they're not allowing a lot of people to gather around, and they're not selling the system. You cannot go into the store and buy it that day. So unless you have a pre-order, you cannot go in. So technically, I mean, the odds are that that won't happen, because the people that are there already have it. You know what I mean? So that's good. There won't be any camping out or anything like that. But yeah, it's interesting because there's so much going on. Like you have, the systems coming out, then, there's some free games that are going to be out immediately for it that I want to try out. I want to try some of the backwards compatibility stuff. So like, I want to try out how God of War plays on it. My wife's looking forward to Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I'm looking forward to a few, but I might end up getting Miles Morales.
That game looks sick.
First, mainly because I thought about Watch Dogs, but my thing with Watch Dogs is it's going to take me a while to get through that kind of game, and I know Cyberpunk comes out the next month, so I'm like, I would be hard to juggle 2 open world games, you know what I mean, at once. And I know Miles Morales is a small game; it's only 10 hours. So I was like, okay, I could manage that, because I know the next day Call of Duty comes out. So I'm because that Call of Duty one's gonna be able to mess with any of the haptic feedback and the triggers. So
Dude,
it's gonna be.
First of all, you better do an unboxing video. If you don't, I'm gonna be super pissed off. Second, you've got to explain to me how that controller feels. You've got to explain to me. I've been dying to have it in my hands, and the way it's gonna feel, and I don't know. It's just insane to me how they. I didn't even think that was possible. It's not, when the PS4 came out, and I didn't even think something like that as a DualSense controller was possible. So that really blew my mind when I learned about it. I'm like, dude, that's insane. And I watched the video you sent me. I think it was last week about those guys trying it out and trying to explain how it feels in your hand and everything. And so I just can't wait.
It's gonna be interesting. One of the things that kind of brought me to Miles Morales a little bit more as I've seen stuff is that it seems like you're gonna see a lot more of that. Like you're going to see a lot more of the horsepower of the PS5 through a game like that because it's a first party game. It's curated for that SSD. I think even from start screen to in game is 5 seconds.
Insane.
Is insane, dude. Insane. And then even the fast travel is like 2 seconds, I think, is what they were saying. So, and it's just the same size as the first Spider-Man game. It's just story-wise, it's a smaller game, you know. Yeah. But it's kind of, it shows off the ray tracing. I think it's 4K ray tracing at 30 frames a second, which a lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to go to the 60 frames per second option. And I'm like, I don't know. I like the ray tracing. It looks amazing. It looks insane. And some of the photographs that people take on photo mode are ridiculous. So it's kind of interesting, like to give people an idea of ray tracing the glasses and one of the characters. You can see the true reflection of some of the lights just off of the glasses. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. That's a level of detail people don't really get to see, but the fact that it's there is crazy. So that I'm looking forward to for sure, you know, because I think that and Call of Duty and even some of the free games that we're getting with the Ultimate, or I think PS Plus collection, like the God of Wars and all these older games that are backwards compatible that are going to be enhanced on the new system, is going to be an awesome little like kind of treat to kind of go back and play some of those games with the new enhancements and stuff. And some of them are like insane enhancements. So it kind of hold me over until Cyberpunk comes out. But yeah, it's going to be insane. I can't wait for what's next with this stuff.
Right. And Cyberpunk will be the next game I get. But I'm torn because I plan on getting the PlayStation 5 in February, but with the house and everything, we've got to save up money for the house. I don't think I'll be able to buy it in February, so I might have to wait till we're actually moved in to get it. And another thing they do when they look at your as far as getting a house, they monitor your bank account. They don't want you buying, going out and making those big purchases. So they watch what you spend. So I don't even think I'll be able to buy it until we move into the house, and then I can do whatever I want again. But so I might buy Cyberpunk for PS4 just to play it, but I might wait that long, and I might have to live through you playing it for a little bit before I get to. But man, I'm excited for you. You better send that. You better have that. You better have that video, man. You've got to do an unboxing video. Show everyone what it's like, what it comes with. We've seen them, we've seen some unboxing, but give me your point of view, your take on it. And we can even do maybe a special edition podcast show on your experience with the PS5 and stuff like that. So we could think about that and go from there.
I'll have some stuff to talk about, like Miles Morales. I think we're getting Bug Snacks for free, which is it's on PS4 and it's also on PS5 as well. And that seems like a quirky, interesting game that is kind of just a cool little freebie that's thrown at us. And first, before I'll have one unboxing, but I'll have two, because as soon as I come in, I'm going to unbox it, plug it in, plug my wife's in, and download Valhalla and stuff like that so she can play it. But yeah, I'll definitely do that with mine, and there'll be a lot of live streams this weekend.
Yeah, definitely do that. And then that'll be the Watson's Playbook on Twitch. And then, man, we can do a special PS5 edition that you can come on and just we'll talk about it and go from there. But,
Yeah, because if I do with Call of Duty, I know that they do have a version that is forward compat. So if you get it on PS4, you'll be able to get it on PS5. So if you end up getting the new Call of Duty, which I think comes out Friday, then we can both, and it's crossplay, so we can both pull it together.
That's cool.
Which is cool.
Yeah. Well, all right, man. I'm super excited for you about getting that system out. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. We want to say we're sorry again for not having one last week. We hope you guys continue to listen, and thank you those that do come on here and listen on the regular. We're still trying to grow the show. So share us with your friends, your family, whatever. If anybody wants to listen to this podcast, who you think might like it, share it out with us. You can reach me at watsonsplaybook@gmail.com. If you have any questions, you got any questions for us about any of the stuff we talk about, have any questions about us and our personal lives or whatever, you can reach out there to us. A
quick thing, I did get a message on LinkedIn, by the way, and I don't think I talked about this before, but I did get a message on LinkedIn with somebody that enjoyed the podcast. So if anybody sees any of us, whether it's on LinkedIn or anything like that, just don't hesitate to kind of give us a little bit of feedback there too, because I was very surprised by that. The guy that reached out to me said he enjoyed listening to the podcast. So if you're listening, thank you very much for that. That's awesome. We're new to this, so trying to figure things out as we go and stuff like that is it's great to hear feedback is the big thing.
Definitely. And then we're on all different platforms. So we Google Music, we are on Apple, we're on Stitcher, we're on iHeartRadio, Pandora. You can find us on Facebook page, Watson's Playbook. You can find us almost anywhere you can find a podcast page, social media. We're definitely there. Eventually, I do have a YouTube channel. I need to do better at streaming my video games on there, but I want to eventually stream this podcast on there. And I'm just waiting until I get a good enough camera to do so it's decent quality and not just off my cell phone. So that being said, we look to push this podcast going forward and continue to do this for us, for our entertainment, because we like to talk a lot, and for your entertainment as well. And Jeff, I want to thank you for coming on and jumping on with me this week. We'll be back next week, hopefully, and get into the next football schedule and anything that might happen next week in sports. So,
all right. Well, thank you for having me on, and stay safe, everybody.